So before I get started with the speech, I would love for you guys to do something for me. And I start a lot of my classes off like this. If you will hold your breath, and then when you can't hold your breath anymore, raise your hand, and then I'll tell you why. Start now, please. 911, what's your emergency? I got a house on fire. Transfer you to the fire department. Fire department, what's your emergency? The house next door to me is on fire. What's your address? Well, I don't know the address that's next to my house. What's your address? 2715 X Street. 2715 X Street. Anybody know what district 2715 X Street's in? So they shuffle around, they start hitting the stations. Doot, 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 house on fire. 2715 X Street. We go to the apparatus, put our quick hitches on, breathing, put our quick hitches on, put our coat on, climb in the truck, ask the EO, you know where we're going? I know where we're going. Now the guy's got to drive. The guy's got to drive to X Street. So many hands are going up. So we get to X Street, we do a 360. We've come to this safety culture now. We're doing a 360. A lot of departments are not geared up by the time they get there. So they got to take a few seconds to get geared up. Doing my 360, I give this ungodly report of what's going on. So I give this ungodly report of what's going on, then I go to work. I got to stretch an inch and 3/4. I got to find a way in, right? Got to find a way in, we got to ventilate. We start crawling around in a house, and I think most everybody in here is breathing now, correct? Little kids are dying when we're not on our game. I like to do that, and if you guys will take this back to your department, you will find. And as a captain, when we would start getting laxed, I would run that drill. And it just puts it back in our head that what we're here for. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much. And I'm honored to be a fireman. My whole life, I've never done anything other than a family person as a fireman. I love every second of it. You too. You know, Kurt Isaacson says a lot, we're the 1%ers. And whenever we walked around down there and I see you guys, we are that 1%. But that 1% can take the fire department back. And I strongly believe that. So in 1962, General MacArthur gave a speech, Duty, Honor, and Country. You guys heard that? So I think if we think about that a little bit, what he meant was, it's what we can be, what we should be, and what we are. And those are rallying cries for us in the fire service. I think we can take that and put that in the fire service. And those rally cries is when we don't have enough courage, firemen dig down deep and get that little bit more courage to go. Fear. We're able to overcome fear. And we're able to overcome faith. Because we are the last line of defense for people in need. I bet if I ask in here, and last night while we were talking, I was so encouraged by how we're all different, yet we're all the same. We have the same problems. We have the same thoughts. And in our discussion yesterday here, and in our discussion at the hotel, it always comes back to that service-driven profession that we are. And there's just something different about us. And all of you feel it. All of us know it right now. It's hard to explain, but we have it. And I was so encouraged and humbled last night when everybody had the same feeling I have. I think we can do something to General MacArthur and add service to that. We're a service-driven service. Our number one goal is to protect people. We have got away from that. But slowly but surely we're coming back, and I think it was described yesterday as the pendulum. Is coming back to that. Where citizens are number one. Service can be heroic. The service can be valedictorious. Or it can just be helping someone. I'd like to give you a story when I was a captain, and in Texas, the Texas guys back there can tell you, it doesn't get cold in Texas. But we had a cold winter, and an elderly lady called 911 because she didn't have water in her house. It's a job for the fire department, right? We're public servants. So we go out, 4 of us on the apparatus, and we go to the back, and her backyard is just soaked in water. Pier and beam home, we look up at her, and she's got a busted PVC pipe. I worked in the inner city, very poor, not a lot of things around. They have a small hardware store, so we jump in a pumper and we go up. We buy some PVC pipes, some fittings, some glue. We go back and we cut it and we glue it up for her. And we tell her, we said, ma'am, your water's back on now. She goes, son, I can't afford to pay you. We didn't do this for pay. We did this because we're your servants. Well, her pride kicked in. And her pride said, I can't take that for free. So has anybody worked in the inner cities? Anybody ever heard of hood juice? It's probably the sweetest tea or the sweetest Kool-Aid you'll ever drink in your life. So you're laughing. You probably heard of it. So she says, I'll give you some hood juice if you promise me you will bring my jug back in the morning. So we become friends over the years. When we make runs in that area, she'd always come to us because all of a sudden we are hers. She's helping us. We're helping them. And we always go to ask people. So with that being said, the fire service, I believe, is a noble calling. And that noble calling has no distinctions on if you're a volunteer, if you're a paid career, if you're a small department, or you're a large metropolitan department. You're making 10 runs a day. You're like, luckily, me in Houston, making over 1,000 a day. Not me, but the city, making a lot of runs. That's what our service is, and it's humbling. And as we progress with this service, and we take that, we think that service is simple, but it means so much. It means so much to the point that sometimes firefighters have to give their life for that service. It's sad. And if any of you have ever been around the line of duty death, it's the saddest thing you'll have to do in your entire life. A friend of mine was killed one morning. Got to work early. Booper goes off. He said, hey, man, I got this. Jumped on the pumper. 5 to 7 minutes later, he was dead. The roof fell on him. And the roof fell on him because he was looking for a homeless guy smoking crack. But that's okay. That's what we do. We make no distinctions on what we do. It's for our love of our brother. So we could be bitter about that. We could hold back about that. But that's what we do. It's a noble calling. And we'll never, ever be able to explain it to anyone who doesn't know. So with that, how many people in here has 10 or more years as a firefighter? Not as that. 10. See, that's what we're about, the senior man. It's not about some officer. When I was an officer, the city said I had to train this guy to X, Y, and Z. But the guy really learns from that senior man. That senior man is the one that takes him out there. The senior man gets dirty with him. The senior man tells him, hey, this is the way we do it. Where I might have to show you how to put your gear on, that senior man gets to show you how to take a banister out. Why would you take a banister out on the second floor? Well, if it lights up on us, we're going to roll off the floor. Well, as a captain, you're going to tell a guy that. Breaks every safety rule in town. But that senior man can say, hey, man, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And that senior man progresses. I would like to talk about 2 senior men that has meant a lot to me over my career. And if you'll just hold with me for a second, it'll make sense what I'm trying to get at when I tell you this. But one is Tommy Scott. When I first came to 46, Tommy Scott was the oldest guy in the district. He had the shiniest shoes. When I first saw him, I'm like, wow. His uniform looked better than anybody's. He was the first guy on the apparatus when we make a run. He was the first guy on the apparatus when we went training. He was the last guy to go to bed. He would always call you to the side, and he would give you this mentoring. And it was not only fire department mentoring, it was life skills. Hey, man, you called and checked on your wife today? No, man, call her. Call and check on your kids today? Man, call them. So one night, I'm doing a fill-in, I get a call to come to the station, and Mr. Scott's upset. So what's wrong, Tommy? He said, man, I got to talk to you, come to the watch office. So first thing you think is something happened to your family. Well, a member of ours had killed himself. And Mr. Scott took it upon himself to district-wide tell each individual person personally. We didn't do it through an email. We didn't do it over a phone call. He called you there. He took you in the watch office, and he told you. Later on in young years, I was a captain on the same apparatus. And when you thought you needed something, Mr. Scott already had it there. You go to that front door to ask for something, you're going to have a second line, you're going to have a scuttle hole ladder, you're going to have some tools, you're going to have lights, you're going to have fans, you got extra saws running, because he was always about 5 or 6 steps ahead of everyone else. Could he have been an officer? Yes, very intelligent guy. Could have been a chief if he wanted to. He didn't want to be because he liked being that senior man. The second one is John Childress, Chili, and anybody knows Houston Fire Department probably knows Chili. Chili came in like 1972 or 1973. Went to Station 46. From Station 46, he went to Station 7. He never wants to be on a truck. He always wants to be on a pumper. He wants to ride first line. He's probably made as many fires as anybody in the city. Today, he's probably making 25 to 27 runs a day. Senior captain on the rescue truck, and we make a church fire. And it's a bad one. Kind of iffy if we should even be in there. The guys couldn't reach the ceiling below. We were on the second floor working with Engine 7 in Chile. And he said, Mo, he said, we got to cut the floor. I said, man, why are we going to cut the floor? He said, man, we got to cut the floor. He said, they can't get it from the bottom. He said, we're going to lose it. So we got fire coming up. We got fire above us. Now we got fire below. If some young guy suggested I cut a hole in a floor in a fire, I would probably say no. But Chile, I told the guys, I said, hey, man, go get some battery-operated saws, and let's cut this floor. So we cut the floor, put lines in there, put it out. Then we put the walls, and we put the ceiling out. We went out there and said, man, Chili, how did you know that? He goes, hey, man, you just got to think outside the box. Why I tell you this? It's leadership at its best. You don't have to take a test to be a leader. You have to take a promotion to be a leader. Sometimes you just got to be a leader, and it's you as that person. So I've had a humbling career. I got to be a big city fireman. I'm in a very aggressive department, make a lot of fires. I've been fortunate over my career, and I have rescued a lot of people out of burning buildings. And has anybody here had the opportunity to rescue them out of a burning building? It's the biggest high you ever have in your life, am I correct? When you do that, your sense of being is met from the fire department. No matter what you do, you will never, ever reach that high again. And the last one is as good as the first one. So I have a rookie come to me named Gary West. And just right away, I took a liking to the guy. We're raised similarly. Both had a country upbringing, strong family values, just a great work ethic. And I was like loving that I got this kid to come to the fire station. I kept telling him, hey man, this is what we're going to do. This is the way it's going to be. So as luck would have it, about the second night he was on duty, 10 o'clock at night, we make a house fire with people trapped. Engine 35 goes on location first. They got fire coming through the roof. And the Bravo and the Charlie side is burning pretty good in the living room. Engine 35 goes in and puts the living room out, and they find somebody laying in the front floor. They drag them out. Good friend of mine, Captain Tim Dunn, which is a chief now, he goes to the back bedroom to take a look because it's like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and we're assuming people are in bed. That's what we do, right? So he gets back there, and he sees a mother through his thermal imager trying to crawl out a window, and she's stuck. So he goes to push her out of the window and steps on her baby. Tim takes a second window out, puts the baby out, pushes her out, finds another kid, and then we're meeting him at the front door, me and Gary West. Tim Dunn tells me, he said, Mo, everywhere you look, there's somebody in this house. Just go find them. So I told Gary Don, I said, this is why we showed up to work this morning, Rook. Let's go. Well, funny story to that, I take 2 steps and trip over a couch and bust my rear end. I tell Gary, that's not what we come to work for. Let's go find someone. So we do, and we find a couple and drag it out. So we're out getting some water. I'm talking to Gary. I said, this is what being a fireman's about. So now let's fast forward about 5 or 6 years. We make a fire with someone trapped again. Gary's on there. I'm on there. We go to the back of the house. We were assigned to go to open the back door. And the lady meets us. So there's a guy right there. Radio the chief. Tell the chief, hey, we got a confirmed victim on the back. We're going in to do a search. So as we go in, I find the hallway. Gary West and Jeff Johnson goes in, and they start searching. And so everyone knows in the inner city, a lot of times people rent apartments, they rent houses, and they put a bunch of hospital beds in there for people. You just got to move around. That's what this was. So as they're doing that, I noticed down the hall some fires lapping out of a room. I'm not too concerned about it, right? So I said, I'm going to go down here and close this door. When I get out to the door, as luck would have it, the door was burned off and I couldn't close it, so we got fire coming out. So I go back up to take a quick look at them on the thermal imager and make sure they're okay. Fire's getting a little bit bigger. I'm thinking to myself, we're going to have to kind of hurry this up. Gary goes, Mo, I got him. So he drug him over to me. We turned him around. We started dragging him out. We can't get down the hallway now because the fire had burned up, and the fire's probably about 2 or 3 foot. Engine 55 comes by. They push the fire back. We're able to drag the guy out. When we drag the guy out, they give this guy a cyno kit. You guys are familiar with the cyno kit? Greatest thing ever known to the fire service, I think. We've saved many firemen for that in the city. They cynoed him, took him to the hospital. The guy lived. So I'm out on a knee getting some water. Gary West comes up and hits me on the back. He said, Captain Davis, this is why we came to work this morning. Full circle, right? So this young man has come full circle, and now he's the leader. And that's prideful. So advancing on into years, September occurred. September 11th, we're all familiar. Almost 3,000 individuals got killed in New York City. It was 3,000 people. We had 343 brother firefighters. I think there was 23 New York City police officers, and I think there were like 37 Port Authority police officers that were killed that day on top of civilians. The whole world was in shambles. I was working that day. We were on lockdown. There's a family, a good friend of mine, Scott Grader, and his family. They're from north of Houston in Montgomery in the Huntsville area. On a side note, Scott just had a baby yesterday morning, so we probably got another fireman coming up that was born yesterday. So Scott's family branched off. Scott was in the fire service. 2 of his brothers were in the Navy. They were Navy SEALs, Marcus and Morgan Luttrell. You guys heard of Marcus? Probably the nicest family you'll ever meet in your life. So while this was going on, Marcus was in a little skirmish. He got shot multiple times, broke his back, fell down the side of a mountain, and he was held as a prisoner. As he was held as a prisoner, guys would go to their home to stand by, to just help the family out, be there for Scott, call and check on him. The foundation of that family was the mom. There was no talk Marcus wasn't coming home. There was no talk that Marcus was dead. And there was no talk that we'd ever see Marcus again. Marcus is going to be okay. Marcus is going to come home. So you ask, why do you tell me that story? It's twofold. Every one of us has that rock at home that we have to be thankful for. And it was her. So you can see that she's got kids in the service field, and it started with that mom. And she is solid to the core, and she raised those kids to be solid to the core. So they found Marcus, brought him home. There's rehabbing him in Houston. He'd come by the fire station and hang out. 31 days after he got home, and I remember this specifically because Scott Grader called me on the phone. He goes, 31 days, my brother's home, and he's at the fire station with me. He told him, said, man, I want to be by some like-minded guys today. What does that even mean? You got a hero, and he wants to be by some like-minded guys. Now, fast forward a few months, a guy named David Eckerman, a big guy works on the southwest side of town, is eating barbecue. And a big guy hits him on the back and says, hey, man, thanks for your service. He turned around and looked, it's Marcus Luttrell. He said, man, you're Marcus Luttrell. Why would you thank me? He said, because you're a fireman. That's why I thank you. And he just like shakes his head. So if a guy like Marcus Luttrell, a true war hero, shot in probably one of the worst skirmishes they had for a while over there, if Marcus Luttrell thanks you for your service, what do you think that little kid does when you ride down the street in that fire truck? That's what we as firemen do. We have to accept that. That's the magnitude of being a fireman. We have to give it 100% every day. Citizens, when they call 911, they expect one thing: quality service from us. And in our discussions last night, we spent several hours on how we give them this quality service. And it all goes back to service, attitude, training, and ready to go at every moment. Are there any mothers in the room? How do you think a mom could give her child to a stranger? But how many times have you guys, especially you older guys, have pulled up on a house and that mom hand that baby to you? She don't care. She just wants that baby fixed. That is something. A natural instinct of a mother is to take care of a baby. And by God, she's going to give it to a fireman every time. And you have to answer her prayers. That's what we do. So I'm going to tell one more story. And then I'm going to thank you guys for allowing me to speak for a little while. And if you follow me on Facebook, you may have heard this. And there's a lot of truth to it. So when I was a captain, our cabs wasn't clean. Our gear wasn't clean. The outside of that fire truck was shiny. We were prideful. When that booper went off, we knew one speed. That was as fast as that fire truck would go. We got ready going down the road. We didn't wear seat belts. We didn't do any of the stuff that they are telling us to do now. We went the wrong way. We went through parking lots. When we got there, our 360 consisted of me looking at the Delta Alpha Bravo side, and I went down, and the first person off that fire truck that could mule kick a door, that's where we went in. Our 360 stopped right there. Every fire we had 3 lines on it. We had a tack line, a backup line, and a what-if line. After the fire was out, we would always come out. We'd take everything off. We would go tell family members we're sorry we couldn't do any more. We'd drink a little bit of water. We'd play with our kids. We would go back in there and overhaul, and we overhauled in quick hitches and helmet. We didn't have safety gloves. We didn't have masks. We didn't have anything. We had headaches for 3 or 4 days. When we was putting the hose back up on there, and the old guys know, when we were putting the hose up, those kids played on that fire truck because that's their fire truck. They're paying us for our service. So out of all the things we did wrong in that conversation, there's a lot of wrongs in that conversation. Out of all the things we did wrong, the one thing we did was put those families first. Those kids were happy. The mom and dad had the worst day of their life, and we tried to make them a little bit happy. So you guys are going to have a great conference. I looked over what's being presented. I'm so excited to be part of it, and I can't thank you enough. We walked around downstairs, and I am so excited about the young and the old. Our profession is going places. We are taking it back. And we had that conversation yesterday, right here. We are taking this back. It's going to be a hard fight. It's going to be an uphill fight. But these conferences, if you take a little bit something back, you call me and you give me something, I call you and give you something, we meet in the middle. Hey, man, I wouldn't do that. Well, here's why I wouldn't do that. We all get better. And when we all get better, it equates down to the families doing better. That's our job. So, hope you guys come tonight at 5. Aggressive command. It'll be a little bit more talking like this. I hope you attend every one of these classes today. Easy to get a hold of. Welcome discussion. And I hope today is much like it was last night. Thank you. Thanks.